All right. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Up next on the Lawyer Henderson podcast show, we're going to be talking about everybody's favorite civil rights bootlick, Al Sharpton. He defends Joe Biden after numerous of black staffers walks out and resign from the White House. I mean, they literally didn't walk out, but they quit the White House after they said that they're not able to basically be a part of policy changes and also helped to write policies and bring policies to move it forward. We're going to be talking about this, but first, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take a listen to this.
African American staffers who have departed the White House expressing frustration that their roads to advancement have been blocked. Now, let's be clear. This administration has the first African American vice president. This administration has the first, obviously we have Karine Jean-Pierre right now as press secretary. There are some prominent black people in key posts, but there's been an exodus of staffers as well. The White House has pushed back on this, but my colleagues have spoken to a number of people who say, like, we felt like we were not getting a fair shake here. Our voices were not heard within this. What is your sense of it?
Well, let me say this. Not only do I give credit to this administration for the two you named, he has the first black Secretary of Defense. We never had a black over the Pentagon. I mean, and Marshall Fudge. I mean, his cabinet. So at the top level, you have not had as many blacks as empowered as we've seen with this administration. And I think one of the things, and I read the piece you referred to, is yes, with Cedric Richmond leaving because of the concern about the midterm election, you do have people like Susan Rice, who no one can question, who's over domestic policy, and people on staff like Trey Baker, who has won the confidence of a lot of us in the civil rights community. What you have not seen with some of the blacks that have left is the Omarosa happened, where Omarosa left Donald Trump and called him a racist and a bigot and wrote a book. So you don't see any of that. I think that there has been some staff turnover, but I think that the access to this administration and working with them has not been in any way abated. But I do think that they should be conscious of what some of the staff members said. And in addressing the point on staffing, what I've found, and I've had access to the last 3 or 4 presidents, though I wouldn't visit Donald Trump, we did talk on the phone. I think the problem is not the staffing I've seen.
We didn't talk to Donald Trump, although I talked to him on the phone. I can show you a picture before Donald Trump started to run as a Republican, where Al Sharpton was buddy up with Donald Trump, with him and what's the guy who was the boxing guy, Don King. I can show you that. So all of a sudden, Al Sharpton is changing his views on Donald Trump just because he's a Republican now? Come on. Anyway, we're talking about here on the Lawyer Henderson podcast show that the Democrats is in trouble during midterm elections. Also, and keep in mind that Al Sharpton, everybody's favorite bootlick, is defending Jim Crow Joe after his black staffers are leaving and quitting the White House, arguing, like I said earlier, that they have no say when they want to basically introduce policy and also do changes. So all they're there is what Malcolm X would describe as window dressing. Give us a minute or so. We'll come back. Hit the thumbs up button, like, share, and subscribe. We'll be right back on the Lawyers and Podcast show to talk about it. Let's see this. Let's see. This thing is not switching. I'm sorry. Hold on. All right. Jim Crow Joe Biden is in trouble as the midterm elections is coming our way in November. His party is in trouble, and some insiders don't even want this old man, Jim Crow Joe Biden, to run again. I'm Lawyer Henderson. You're in for the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. Give me a thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe to the video. Well, Biden sees exodus of black staffers and some frustration among those who remain. Okay? So, like Malcolm X says, all you there is to win a dress. That's all you there for. You understand? Now, Biden's approval ratings among black voters basically is shrinking. And Jim Crow Joe Biden is in trouble with Asians, even despite the fact that they've received a hate crime bill. But after 10 black people died in Buffalo, New York, there was no anti-hate crime bill for black Americans. Then Jim Crow Joe Biden decided to use George Floyd's daughter as a mascot for his bill on gun control or legislation that has nothing to do with what killed or who killed George Floyd, which is Derek Chauvin, as we call for more punishment of the police. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know this is the Lawyer Henderson show, but yes, we're going to let you get the real facts. But let's tell you what Jim Crow Joe Biden is trying to do. Well, it's because he's not trying to get a hate crime bill for us. Well, he is trying to seek internet censorship. He said there's a lot of black extreme identifiers or extremists online. And basically they said that, since these black folks are talking that black stuff, they become extremists. So he wants to pass an internet censorship bill that will limit you and I from making content. Well, ScrewTube is already doing that as well. ScrewTube has suspended me, of course, for 30 days. ScrewTube has basically made sure that most of my what they call controversial YouTube videos get low audiences, and they have taken away my subscribers. But why would ScrewTube do this to black people who just tell the truth? Because, of course, as one wise man once told us, truth have no moral stance in the United States. That's the reason how the Europeans was able to then control us for so long. And for the 236 years that the United States have been a country, they have always engaged in benign neglect policies against African Americans. Well, it's basically no different. They're continuing. And Jim Crow Joe Biden, who is the head of the party right now, faces now mounting criticism. And who is there to try to defend him, just like he defended Obama when Obama basically did not have a black agenda when he was in office? Well, Al Sharpton, Nappy Tappy Sharpton, coming out defending Jim Crow Joe Biden after 21 so far black staffers have just got up and quit, said, I don't want to do it no more, starting with Simone Mamie Sanders. Politico did an excellent job. The white media basically have to sometimes are forced to tell the truth every now and then. So that's the reason why we're going to give Politico this credit here. Not all the credit, because Politico does do that switch and bait. We'll talk about later if we have time. But Biden sees exodus of black staffers and some frustrated among those who remain. At least 21 black staffers have left the White House since last year, are planning to leave soon. Since late last year, or are planning to leave soon. Some of those who remain say it's no wonder why. They describe a work environment with little support from their superiors and few chances for promotion. They're talking about their white bosses. Like if you go into the private sector, like there are going to be some type of chances there, right? Well, black people just don't learn. Departures have been let's just say this before I go on. They describe the work environment with little support from their superiors and fewer chances of promotion, right? These are black people. And as Malcolm has said, y'all are there to window dress. Y'all not there to make no policies, just like you did in slavery and Jim Crow and all these other eras that we had as far as black people. You're not there to basically run anything. The white folks run everything. Okay? What do you think that you were going to get after that tackle, Simone Mamie Sanders? Nothing. You're there to be a mascot for the white folks, to window dress, to say, look, we're doing something for black folks to provide symbolism. But let's continue as Jim Crow Joe Biden and his administration and the feds and all these people are trying to bring internet censorship to people like me. They're calling us black extremists. That's fine with us, but we're just telling the truth and giving our opposing views. That's all. That's all we're doing. And that's a threat to you. That's the reason for internet censorship. But okay, I digress. The departures have been so pronounced that, according to current and one former White House official, some black aides have adopted the term of them Blacksit. That's their term. The first big exit came in December when Kamala Harris, senior advisor and chief spokesman Simone Sanders, announced she was leaving, ultimately for a gig at MSNBC. Since then, Harris senior aides Tina Flannoy, Ashley Eaton, and Vincent Evans, and public engagement head Cedric Richmond have left. Public engagement aide Carissa Smith, gender policy aide Kalisha DeSources Figures, National Security Council Senior Director Linda Eden, Digital Engagement Director Cameron Trimble, Associate Counsel Fumi Oranipia, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce this is Nigerian name, Badejo, Chief of Staff Ron Clan Advisor Elizabeth Wilkins, and Nayet Mula Geta, Press Assistant Natalie Austin, National Economic Council aide Joelle Gamble and Connor Maxwell, and Presidential Personnel aide Danielle Oke, Reggie Greer, and Rashawn Dyson had all departed too. Deputy White House Counsel Danielle Conley and Council of Economic Advisors aide Sahara Griffin are among other planning to leave in coming weeks, according to White House officials. The exits have raised concern among outside observers who push for the diversification of government ranks. I have heard about the exit of black staffers from the White House, Blacksit, and I'm concerned, said Spencer Overton, president of Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies, which tracks government staff diversity numbers. Black voters account for 22% of President Biden's voters in November 2020. It is essential that black staffers are not only recruited to serve in senior, mid-level, and junior White House positions, but also included in majority policy and personnel decisions and have opportunity for advancement. Now, let me stop right there before we go on. This is a good article that Politico have written. I give them credit. And this is our Fair Use Act because ScrewTube likes to check every video and say, see, you niggers, y'all violating our copyright, policy. No, we're not. No, we're not. Here's the thing about black folks thinking that they're going to go into any type of organization specifically ran by white folks and think that they're going to have any kind of say-so in the business. That doesn't happen in private organization. And even when you have a black person who's like, let's say, the managing partner or the head of some kind of company, they will also create a code management position for a white person because they don't trust the black head. That's have always happened with white folks. That's the reason why we said we want our reparations, we want tangible benefits, we want to be able to start our own businesses because these people don't trust us anyway. Goes on to say here, though, that a White House official pushed back on those concerns, saying that around 14% of current White House staffers identify as black in line with national proportions. The officials added that the number is expected to increase as more black staffers are brought on board and that 15% of black staffers have been promoted in the last year. The president is incredibly proud to have built what continues to be the most diverse White House staff in history. In history, and is committed to continuing historic representation for Black staffers in all communities, says White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. This is normal time for turnover over the broad and the administration or across the board. In any administration, and Black staff have been promoted at higher rate than staff who are not diverse. A number of staffers who left, moreover, said it was on good terms. Some departures were for graduate school opportunities. Others went to different cabinet departments. Several said that they were leaving because of family matters. The source's figure said she wanted to focus on her young children, as did Kylie. Making up excuses why they are in the White House. You know what I'm saying? You got to watch your back. It's a lot of things that you can't do when you're working for the white government. It's a it's in private positions, you can gossip and you can go and do this and you can go do that. You can leave whenever you want to. No. When you're working for the government, you basically are limited to where you can go sometimes. And you know what I'm saying, Black folks, we like to stay on breaks for like a long time, and we don't consider we don't consider our break until we get our food, right? So there was a lot of things that they were missing in the private sector that I don't care how Black people, whatever who you hire, if you're closing off those sections and stuff and there's heavy security working there, you got to be very disciplined of trying to work in a environment where the federal government is running things, because it's always going to be limited. You basically don't have no space here. You can't walk out here without security clearance and badges, and everybody's checking your badge here. It is a constant security measured stuff. So on top of being ignored by the Biden administration comes all of these challenges, you see. Now, it goes on to say, if I can get this thing out of my, but hold on, what is this doing? But others describe as need to refocus in general, having spent years operating an intense work environment with little time off, okay, which is another thing, limited time off. I worked for both the president and vice president during the campaign cycle and considered the chance to serve the American people and the Biden-Harris White House nothing short of an honor, says Austin in an email. They're talking about this bootlicking Negro who is now the Secretary of Defense. I love my experience on the press team and left because I wanted the chance to spend more time with family after nearly 3 years straight of campaigns and government work. The reason for the departure may vary, but the totality of them have not gone unnoticed within the ranks, according to the interview with 9 current and former Black White House officials. 3 Black staffers who currently work in the White House and were granted anonymity because of fear of reprisals, said that their exit has hurt morale, compounding problems that exist elsewhere. They describe an operation in which mentorship is hard to come by and opportunities to move up the ranks of tight-knit operation is exceptionally rare. Yeah, because the white folks are going to get the jobs first. Everywhere they go, they're number one in line. Come on. We're here and we're doing a lot of work, but we're not decision makers, and there's no real path towards becoming decision makers, said one of the current Black White House official. There's no real feedback and there's no clear path to any kind of promotions. Okay, now, when you look at that piece before we go on, right? Remember Sharpton, Nappy Tappy Sharpton said, well, Omarosa, she was experienced racism by Donald Trump, and she got kicked out of the White House, and she wrote a book about it. Remember, he just said that in that video I just let y'all hear. But see, the difference between Donald Trump kicking Omarosa out and these black folks is that we're talking about 21 black people. We're not just talking about one black female that Trump sent away. We're talking about 21 black staffers under Jim Crow Joe Biden and Kamala Harris so far has left. And Sharpton is trying to piggyback on just one example. You see what I'm saying? And this is what they have him there for. You see, that's the reason why a lot of people are looking at the civil rights generation kind of funny style. And they keep on lying about this man's approval rating, talking about the vast majority of black people support this man when the man stole the election. It's now coming out that we're finding out about his son, that the laptop and him making money, getting billions of dollars from China when he was accusing Trump of it. We're coming to find out that everything is true. That his son, Hunter Biden, basically was sitting on the boards and operations making money. And his father, the president at the time, was the vice president at the time, was cutting all these deals, making billions and billions of dollars so their family could be rich while our families starve in the streets. You see what I'm saying? This is what they were doing. And the white media was saying, no, you're lying. They tried to hide all of the evidence. And they created this whole thing about Biden basically had these clean hands. You see what I'm saying? And this is the reason why he's going to one-term president. And in fact, he didn't win at all, in my opinion, if you want to ask me. He was selected. They kept on talking about, yeah, young black people like Biden. Young black, no, the hell we don't. The black men said that we were sitting at home. He didn't get the same votes that Obama did. This lie that the white media was telling, man, it was very just atrocious here. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue. Biden had pledged upon entering office that his administration would look like America looks and include a full range of talents we have in all of our people. And he said he and his team have subsequently taken steps to create the most diverse administration ever, far beyond his immediate predecessors. It doesn't matter if you're putting black folks in office or in these temporary positions. They don't have no damn power. They don't have no say-so. So what's the point? You see? And that's what somebody could tell Nappy Tappy Sharpton. Anyway, it goes on to say that it also made history with the ascension of black women to this position of vice president, Supreme Court justice, and press secretary, and all the Federal Reserve boards of governors, among other posts. These are token positions for 3 black women. Token position. One who don't even claim black unless it's beneficial, Kamala Harris. And Corinne Jean Pierre, she's not even considered a black American. She's Haitian, by the way. So they put these folks in here to try to trick us and like we're making progress. Okay. But when Negroes get into these positions, they have no power. Okay. They don't make no decisions. It's just like in the private sector. You put a black person as a CEO, he has no power. The board of directors is going to tell him what to do. Okay. Thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. But at lower levels, the pledge have been harder to sustain. While there are several first in history black leaders of important White House divisions, like Domestic Policy Council head Susan Rice, Council of Economic Advisors Director Cecilia Rouse, and Office of Management and Budget Director Shalonda Young, none have black deputies except Conley. Conley is leaving, though. She will be replaced by a black woman, a White House official said. See, using black women as symbolism. Goes on to say some people have not had the best experiences, and a lot of that has to do with dire of black leadership. Said one former White House official who is black. Think about any workplace. Black folks need some person to strategize and be a mentor. And we just don't have as many folks who can be mentor to us. See, this is a lie. This is propaganda. See, when white folks are running things, black people always talk about mentorship. They always focus on, oh, let's talk about mentorship. Let's talk about how we can organize and be some type of contribution. But when black people run something, oh nigga, I want to run this, I want to control this, I want to own my own this, and I want to own that. Yeah, you get very bold when black folks run stuff. When these white folks are running things, oh, now you want to play the part that you're going to play, and that's nothing. You don't have no power in the organization. You don't have no right to do or say anything among these people. And that's what they're there for. Your only job there is to help window dress and to make it appear as if there's progress in the black community. That's your only goal, your only purpose of being there. Like Malcolm said, you're there to window dress. It goes on to say this political article that several black staffers pointed to the departure of Richmond as a particularly difficult blow. A second current Biden White House official described Richmond as a big brother. And the voice of those folks whose departure have left people a little nervous. A former Biden official who is black said Richmond was a nucleus for black staffers and that there has been no one to fill the void similarly since he left. They brought in tons of black people generally to start without ever establishing an infrastructure to retain them and help them be successful, said a third current black White House official. If there is no clear infrastructure of how to be successful, you become just as invisible in the space than you would be if you were not in it. You see, this is how black people talk when they are basically working for white folk. It's nowhere that they challenge white people in anything when they know that they're not going to run nothing. Okay, it's only when they basically start trying to work with us is that now everybody is going to be bold to try to run something. You see how that works? It goes on to say that in interviews, several black staffers expressed frustration, in part that Deputy Chief of Staff Jen O'Malley Dillon haven't done more to retain and promote some black employees, though other officials said such concern are misplaced. While part of her job entails signing off on promotions of White House staffers, actual decisions around promotions are made at lower level, and federal budgeting has restricted a lot of White House flexibility around human resources decision. As for comment, O'Malley Dillon referred questions to the White House press office. I have known Jen O'Malley Dillon since 2007. She had always been a true advocate for diversity and for black staff. Here at the White House and the 4 campaigns we worked on together, said John Pierre. NSC Chief of Staff Yanis Abraham, who has also known O'Malley Dillon for 15 years, says she is and has long been a strong advocate for the importance of building diverse teams. In an interview, Richmond Now, a senior advisor at the Democratic National Committee, said that the White House had given young black staffers more responsibility than other administrations, and that many of the people leaving were headed into important jobs with higher compensation. He said that the timing of the numerous recent black staffers' departure is that his former colleagues are leaving for better opportunities. A lot of people have been at the grind for a while, and it's hard to grind. So a slowing down of workplace and a better salary become more attractive, he said. For young African American staffers who can make these types of salaries, it doesn't change their plight, but their family plight. So in other words, you're going to make more money, of course, in working for private sector than you are the White House. Okay. Staffers concede that their salary, which started around $48,000 for an entry-level White House job, has been made it difficult to retain black employees in a city where high costs of living. The pay in the White House is not traditionally very good, and a lot of black folks in these roles don't come from wealthy families, said the second White House officials. But some of them, of those whose this has affected black current and former staffers, the concerns are not just centered around matter of salary. The continued pandemic has forced aides to continue to have many meetings over Zoom and limited staff socializing events, making it harder to build staff cohesion and keep morale up, staffers said. Joma Simmons, Harris communication director, downplayed the notion that the internal operations have been bumpy, saying that the White House have been welcoming and enabling of our communication ideas. He's lying. Elsewhere, however, there is frustration over how policy priorities have been communicated. A White House official noted that Biden and Harris have helped provide more support for HBCUs, which is a lie, use executive authority to increase police accountability and help black communities with increased investment in economic opportunities and projected through the infrastructure law. And that's a lie. But privately, several staffers said there was growing sense that some of the majority issue important to black voters and lawmakers have gone either unfilled or become less emphasized. Yeah, like an uh, black anti-hate crime bill been left unemphasized or less emphasized and unfulfilled. Issues that are the highest priority for our community are no longer at the forefront of the administration priority list, said a third black White House official. When 10 black people got killed at the grocery store in Buffalo, it is business as usual, and no one stopped to say to you, "Are you okay?" For some black staffers still serving the administration, there's also fear that the exiting of their colleagues will worsen the situation, ensuring that there are even fewer voices there to reflect the perspective of their community. They believe that failure to retain those staffers reflect a large political misstep that the White House have made. They gave us a mandate to execute all of the things that we promised, and not only are we not delivering on that front, but then we're not also delivering on the staff that came in on the basis of the promise, said the first and the current White House officials. People go home to their families or their communities, and what can they point to specifically? They can't even point to their own experience as positive. And I read the whole article for you because I want to make a point about what Nappy Tappy Sharpton said. See, Nappy Tappy Sharpton, keep on lying. He's a poster child for the Democratic Party. There is no comparison to the kicking out one black female who was a senior staffer to Donald Trump, or advisor rather, to Donald Trump, versus 21 black officials who's sitting there saying, there's no, we're not engaged in what the day-to-day operations are. We're just sitting in here cooped up in these offices and these clauses, and we don't have no real authority. That's kind of boring to you, don't you think? Well, but Jim Crow Joe Biden, basically, of course, is losing his support because he has not done anything for black folks. He's lied. And I told you all this before we elected this man. I was one of the people sounding the alarm, saying that this man is a liar. I told you go back and look at my other YouTube videos. I said Joe Biden hates black folks. Joe Biden was around, of course, with known segregationists, praising them. And when it came to the 1994 crime bill, it was Jim Crow Joe Biden who was the chief architect of that bill that was later signed by Bill Clinton. I had no sexual relationship with that woman. You see? But let's continue to talk about what Jim Crow Joe Biden is not doing for the black community. But before we do that, let's talk about what's coming up next on the Lawyers and Podcast show as we start coming back to all of our live shows and events next month in July. We're going to be talking about Marcel Dixon. He's running against Jim Crow James Clyburn, Jim Clyburn. And we're going to be talking about, of course, the California reparations debate that they had just recently in California. and also to talk about the fight for Taiwan's independence. After the war of Ukraine, Russia invaded Ukraine. Remember, now China has been emboldened to say, yeah, we're going to do some drills over there in Taiwan. Taiwan trying to think that they're going to be independent. No, we'll show them. And then North Korea, they're back basically shooting up rocket missiles. You got India that's now in a civil war. Pakistan is with the basically they breaking out with crisis. You got the whole world after Joe Biden got in office that basically is just now engaging in all kinds of unrest and civil disobedience. And now the problem with that now is that Biden is going around telling Taiwan, we're going to defend them. How? You're overstretched as a military. And on top of that, the war in Ukraine, where you're sending so many missiles and bombs and ammunition to the Ukrainians, and now Russia has found a way to stop it. Remember, the white media was telling us, oh yeah, Putin is not going to win this war. Oh yeah, Ukraine is doing a good job. Putin is basically being defeated. And now the white media is silent now. Why? Because Putin is taking over Kiev. Putin has taken over some of East Ukraine. Putin basically got a lot of portions of Ukraine. And now there's a silence of the white media. As you see what I'm saying? At first they were telling us, oh yeah, Ukrainians, they were fighting. Listen, Ukrainians do not have a real army. Okay. They have a defense, but they don't really have an army. So that's the reason why they had to use their residents and people, okay, to try to help fight and stop, and try to block African people to come and help them fight in this country, in a nation that is not theirs. In fact, a nation that was praising Derek Chauvin and telling the Americans to free him after he murdered George Floyd. But back to Jim Crow Joe Biden. I've been the one sounding the alarm on this man. I told you when Trump was in office, I said not only did they stole the election, I said that black men was not in supporting this man. And yet the white media kept on lying. They kept on saying that, oh, black folks and young black people like this man, that he got way more votes than Obama. See, the reason why they can cheat on the presidential situation is because the president is not chosen by the by the people. They're chosen by the electoral college. So Jim Crow Joe Biden was actually selected to become the president. And his popular vote, he only won that by 4,800 votes. So he really basically was really not that popular. Thumbs up, thumbs up. And we told y'all when the Democrats got in office that black folks was going to increase in discrimination, that black men are going to basically be singled out, where we were not going to get any tangible benefits, where they were going to try to prop up these black women, talking about women and children, talking about minorities, talking about people of color, talking about disadvantaged neighborhoods, talk about gays, talk about the LGBT communities. And when it came to us, basically, it's to try to put everybody in the groups with us. The black media was sounding the alarm. Now let's take a look at what Jim Crow Joe Biden did for everybody else. And he promised the people who basically voted for him, which were black folks, that he was going to then have their back. Yeah, way back, Jim Crow Joe. It goes on to say here, though, that Joe Biden and the Democrats are in trouble in the midterm elections. Now, speaking of being in trouble, remember, Raphael Warnock is running for re-election. And Herschel Walker is basically, in the polls, they're already showing that Herschel Walker, who's just won his nomination, the party nomination for the Republicans, they're showing that he'll be able to beat Raphael Warnock if black folks sit at home and do not participate in the midterm elections, if they just stay home or if they vote for Republicans. So we know empirically that the Democrats has never done anything for us. But here's the thing about that. The Democrats basically have been playing the same game. Their whole game plan has been not to do anything for black folks. And as I've been telling you on almost all the videos, when we talk about this politically, to keep us in a segmented labor market, to keep the black man down. That's the reason why their numbers are dwindling. Because the original black man who's been on this earth forever, the white man is here saying, oh, I'm going to try to see how we can depopulate the black man. How can we do that? You can't do that. We are the original people. And that's why their numbers are dwindling, because they spend all of their time trying to bring the black man down. But we have basically have been surviving. We survived slavery. We survived Jim Crow. We survived Reconstruction and redlining and all of the things, lynching and murders and killings and raping and all of the things that white folks have done and have not gave us our reparations for it. We have survived it. Now let's go ahead and talk. Shit, can we? What have Jim Crow Joe Biden did for everybody else? He gave, of course, $450,000 wanting to give illegal immigrants who was supposedly were discriminated at the borders that they illegally tried to cross over, $7 billion to resettle Afghan evacuees over after America left Afghanistan and the Taliban took back control. They stayed in there. Remember that they stayed in there for almost 20, 30 years, and the Taliban still came back. They were funding Afghanistan with billions of dollars each day, millions of dollars and billions of dollars that they basically was able to make for the Afghanistan war, in Afghan and Iraq war. Let's see what Jim Crow Joe Biden has done and gave. Oh, I know. Let's talk about this. Jim Crow Joe Biden have gave the Native Americans $1.7 billion, and there was a bipartisan effort to do that. So that means that the Democrats and Republicans basically supported the Native Americans get $1.7 billion. And even though, as Dr. Claude Anderson points out, that black folks, because of the treaties that were signed, that black people were supposed to get some of their money, that money. Goes on to talk about how the Asians got a hate crime bill, and that the Asians basically was told, there was Asian leaders were told that Biden was going to help them with their businesses and their economic commerce by giving them an additional $100 million to support that throughout the country and also in the Asian Pacific. $40 billion in aid to Ukraine, okay? And Biden is allowing some of them to come over here now, and they're dropping them off in black communities. Oh, but what have you did for black people? Oh, well, let's see. Well, you gave us Kamala Harris as your vice president. We gave you Hip Hop Day. We gave you Juneteenth national holiday, a bunch of more symbolism. And this is what had worked on the old civil rights generation. Mm-hmm. The civil rights generation in the 1990s basically allowed the Democrats to use symbolism. And it goes all the way back to Richard Nixon when one of his staffers was saying, the Moynihan Report, it is basically to continue to engage in benign and neglect against black people, to ignore the black race, the black plight. This is the only way that they know to basically sustain a unjust system, okay? And this is what they've been doing. And so we basically, in the black grassroots, the young black generation, we basically had said that we no longer are going to basically, deal with the old dead black media and the civil rights people. The civil rights people have sold us out. Al Sharpton basically has not only took up for Joe Biden because of these staffers are leaving, But remember, it was Al Sharpton who said that Barack Obama should not have a black agenda. And he was basically literally ready to cuss Tevin Smiley out. And by the way, this is the reason why Tevin Smiley is facing a lot of sexual abuse from these white women now, is because he basically went off script and said, listen, Obama was not doing anything for the black community, and he should have a black agenda. Okay. And so after that, remember, Tevin Smiley kept on getting all of these sexual harassment allegations against him and all of that. And that's what they do when you call them out and you speak truth to power. They always want to plug you in with something that happened 30 years ago, accusations, because they don't have no real tangible evidence against you. So they got to use their own playbook, and that is to bring up something that happened 50 years ago against you. But again, we're going to be talking about Marcel Dixon running against Jim Crow, James Clyburn, the reparations debate and the fight to keep Taiwan independence. It's all coming up next on the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. But I also want to talk to y'all about what one MSNBC man has said on his commentary. He talks there and gives an interesting point of view about the Democrats. Remember in the 1990s when the Democrats got in office, and I should play that clip, and we're going to talk about this possibly on the Lawyer Henderson podcast show, where, remember in the 1990s, where they used hip-hop rappers and stuff like that, the law enforcement officers started being connected with these shootings and things of that nature. Even when the white dude who killed the black folks in Buffalo, he were all connected to law enforcement. Well, this guy, he brought up a good point. He was a white liberal guy. He brought up a good point. He said when the Democrats are opening up their same Playboy book, remember the 1990s when you had Tupac and Biggie Smalls, when they were basically at neck to neck, and you had this East Coast versus West Coast. The Democrats have basically did all of that to distract us. And black people back in the 1990s was way pro-black. How did they stop us from talking about the reparations debate? Was they got us basically and used law enforcement and used rappers, and actually had some rappers who was killed and murdered, so that they can focus us on that end and not our tangible benefits and reparations that we're owed for 400 years in this country, specifically the 263 years that we were enslaved here. But yeah, he was talking about how that's the liberal Playboy book. Every time they're in office, law enforcement like to let these repeat offenders out in certain types of the country and the states, where the city in the small cities or the big cities where Democrats have a majority pool, like here in Atlanta. Joe Biden basically found out there was some black people supporting him. He immediately started to go to Atlanta, and all of a sudden, these you had a lot of black dudes, what we call Pookie and Ray Rays. They were getting out of jail. They were getting different names. They were going out shooting people just for the hell of it. And the white media was out there, and they were basically reporting on all of this. And this became very sporadic. And the white media was able to use that as a way to bring this frightening to white folks, talking about, oh, we need gun control. And now you got black people talking about, oh, we need gun control. This is the Democrats' playbook, and it is law enforcement who are linked to these people who are killing these rappers as well. For instance, when you talk there about like the rapper who got shot in Memphis, all of these rappers, they are basically, what happens is they, like I said, when Democrats get in office, they work with the local police, and the local police start finding out who is the rapper's enemy, as far as who's the one that's jealous of this rapper, and who is the one who basically that this rapper would have beef with. And they start hyping them up. They start giving them ammunition, telling, hey, this is where this rapper's going to be. And they start flooding these, uh, these basically these random shootings and violence that has been perpetrated by these folks who are connected with law enforcement to do this so that they can keep our communities in chaos. They don't want to give us no reparations. They don't want to put money in our communities, but they want to keep our communities in disarray. And this is what they do when the Democrats are in office. And that's why I told you it was better to have Trump in office in the conservative, because when they were in office, they don't play that. They basically say, look, we don't give a damn about Latinos. We don't care about you niggers. We don't care about you Hispanics. We don't care about you LGBT, gays. We don't give a damn. They show their real racism, and that's what Black folks need. That's exactly what we need. And that's the reason why I hope Trump win. Jim Crow Joe Biden got to go. We already know that he didn't win, but we knew that he was going to be a one-term president because he has been getting old. Nobody is supporting him. They behind closed doors, you know what I'm saying? He's not meeting with his staff. He's just rambling off at the mouth. He turning around trying to shake somebody's hand. There's nobody there. It's just chaotic. Everything is just funny here, But yeah, like I said, we'll talk about that on one of our podcasts, that liberal ideology and what they do in their Playboy book when the Democrats want to basically bring these crimes, and then the white media go around and say, well, you look, gang violence among Black folks and blah, blah, blah. Like I said, and like we said, like other Black commentators said, remember those remember that white supremacist in Buffalo? He was connected to a federal agent. Okay, all of these people who are doing these mass shootings are connected to law enforcement. All of them, mostly all of them are. They join these white extremist groups. Okay, and this is the Democrats' Playboy book. They are the ones who basically make sure that this society stay violent. Okay, and then because they do not want a stable country, they don't want there to be normal. They don't want there to be no type of stability. It has to always be chaos. It's just like being in a relationship with a female who has to always have turmoil. It always have to be one every time she come home. You see, they want instability, and that's what have maintained white supremacy. All right, join us as we continue on the Lawyers and Podcast show to bring you the truth, the facts. The facts. They're trying to shut us down, trying to censorship us, calling us Black identity extremists online. All because we want to tell the truth about the Democrats. You're the Lawyers and Podcast show.